Hey, welcome to CBC Next. I'm once again here with Pastor Jared. And man, it's been a snowy weekend over the last few days. We didn't get to have church in person, even though they said it was going to snow 27 inches or something like that. How much did you guys get down in Weston?
I think like five.
If
yeah.
That. Probably about 6 here, but it did have a decent amount of ice and rain and different things like that. So roads have been pretty bad. So when I first looked at this upcoming weekend, it said there was going to be snow. And but for now, I think we prayed hard enough. We just got to keep praying that maybe we don't have to have church online again, because I'm tired of it. I'm ready to be back in person. And not to mention we have lots of stuff going on. We've got the Super Bowl party on Sunday. Or no, that's in a couple weeks. We've got Together Nights this upcoming Sunday with Pastor Ed. So if you haven't jumped on there and done that DISC personality assessment, make sure you jump on there and do that. But we don't want to miss out on that. So it's going to be fun. We're having breakfast for dinner, so it'll be really cool.
Fan favorite.
Yeah. So we were online this last Sunday, but I know a lot of you jumped in and joined us as we talked about our Truly Truly series once again. And man, these have been some good, really deep theological teachings from Jesus that he has flagged for us. So what did you gather this week from Jared? Jared, what did you gather this week from the book of John as we talked about these things?
So one thing that I think resonated well with me is how Jesus meets them where they're at. So we see in the beginning of John 3, talking to Nicodemus, beginning to reference things that happened back in the Old Testament, which Nicodemus would have known about. And fast forwarded to John 6 with the disciples, they would have heard these same oral history stories. And through it, talking about one key that stuck with me was how the difference between a temporary solution to things to the eternal. So looking at how the bronze serpent would have been a temporary fix to a physical problem. And the manna would have been a temporary fix for a physical problem of food. But how both of those relate to Jesus. And when Jesus even said, why are you working towards these food that is temporary? Why not let's strive for the bread that's eternal? And so just how we get so caught up in just striving day to day for just something that's temporary, that could be gone tomorrow. When serving Jesus and building for his kingdom is this massive eternal glory that we can be working towards.
Absolutely. And so we did our Daniel series earlier in the year, and through the summer last year, I think is what it was. And a lot of that was just thinking about how to live in Babylon, and how to be an exile and how to be a foreigner. And that really, I'm the one that preached it, but I got a lot out of it, of the study, and a lot out of how to look and live eternally. Yes, they let Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, let them change their names and change the type of clothes that they wore and what they learned about. But there were things that God said, these lines don't cross. And so they compromised on the temporary that wasn't a big deal. They stood firm on the things that were God things. And that's that same type of thing of like, which are we living for, the temporary or the eternal? And so, like you said, in the Old Testament, God had given them these signs and symbols of like, hey, something is coming. This snake isn't it, This is a symbol, and this is something I'm asking you to do to show your faith, but don't just start worshiping snakes, Or this manna, he even made it to where they couldn't keep the manna, and it would spoil, and so the manna isn't something that you worship. The same thing with the rock that Moses hit to get the water out of it. Moses did it the wrong way, and God wasn't happy with him, and so, but Jesus is the great physician. He is the bread of life. He is the living water, and all those Old Testament symbols that were temporary, Jesus fulfills all those things, and yet This is the people that he was talking to, the Jewish people, the people that had all these scriptures, and they made it was their personality. We are children of God, and yet these messages that were right down their alley, they missed them. Many of them missed them.
Yeah.
The early church was made up a lot of more though of the down and out Jewish people, rather than, now there was like Nicodemus, he's one that caught it. Joseph of Arimathea was probably a rich, person in that culture, but really a lot of it was the sick and the outcast and the harlot or the prisoner or the, all these people that it wasn't working for them. The religion thing wasn't working for them, so it was easy. Now the people at the top, they had financial means and they had power, and they wanted to hang on to that. And so, in a country that is very well off, when you consider other parts of the world, we have to be sensitive to that. That just because it's the way that we've done things or it's the way that has worked for us, doesn't always mean it's God's way. Yeah. And when you go to places like Cuba or Indonesia or Costa Rica or any of these countries that I've been able to be blessed to go and minister to, you see they really center their personality. The people that we're going and partnering with center their identity around being a Christian, firstly. And I think in America, that's a little bit of a struggle for us to which one wins, that I'm a citizen of heaven or am I a citizen of America? And what we argue about a lot of times really can show that. But Nicodemus was able to put those things down, and in order to, choose the eternal, whereas the crowd, was just wanting stuff from Jesus. And that's a good question for us. Like, so if, my 401k raises by 50% in the next year, and if I have all the health in the world, and if my friends and my relationships are going amazing, and if everything works out for me, am I okay if I have all that and don't have Jesus? And I think that's our struggle more often is Jesus, just give me what I want. And
we seek the hand of Jesus rather than the heart of Jesus.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And it's a struggle. I had a conversation with somebody one time about that, of like, hey, the world is changing, and we were more of a Christian nation, decades ago, and things, it was more interwoven, and everyone could quote John 3:16. And the question though there is, in that type of culture, does Christianity cost us anything? And if it doesn't cost us anything, is it easy to miss it, right? Because this is just who we are. And so as the world continues to, get broken, more and more broken and more dark around us, we're going to be able to see in ourselves and in others whether it's sincere or not. Yeah. And now I pray in my lifetime and my kids' lifetime, we never have to face the Colosseum, right? Yeah, and I don't want that to happen. But you can't deny that that grows your faith. I mean, I wouldn't stack my faith up against the people that stood in front of the gladiators or the lions and didn't recant their faith. And it's because they had to exercise it that way. Yeah. And so those are big and tough things. And Nicodemus ended up, I think it did take him a little while, but he ended up putting his life on the line by bringing those burial spices and identifying with Jesus when Peter, not long ago, denied Christ, the night before 3 times as a disciple of Christ. And it's a big deal to think of these big things of like, what am I seeking? Am I just seeking blessings? Yeah.
And one thing that I think when I ended the message that stuck with me is even at the end, with Nicodemus coming to him sincerely, and then with the crowds, at the end of John 6, like the crowds aren't happy.
No.
When he's like, I am the bread that came from heaven, like I am the bread of life, they weren't happy. But notice that both truly statements end with an invitation. It's like, with Nicodemus, he's inviting him to be born again. And even at the end with the bread of life statement, he invites all of you that are hungry, come. I can satisfy that for you. So even in situations where we are faced with people who aren't happy with us or who are kind of standoffish against the gospel, we don't ever walk away angry at them. We end with invitation, still providing that for them.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I find that interesting sometimes with how Christians interact with their quote unquote enemies.
Yeah.
You see a lot of people, bleep them, or, execute them or and these are, many times these are not, this isn't anybody in our church, that I know of, but people that claim Christ, and you click on their profile and there's, Jesus stuff. And it's like, that's not, he told us to love our enemies. And yes, we can disagree and we can stand for right. But the hope, especially if we believe that somebody isn't a follower of Jesus, is that they would repent of their sin and come to know Jesus and to put their faith and trust in Jesus. It always should be this, this yearning and, this desire for that person who is standing against God to come to Christ.
Yeah.
And, I 100% believe that Barabbas, that literally these two people stand before a crowd and everybody, or those people that are there, okay, cry out, crucify Jesus, give us Barabbas. Yeah. I believe with all my heart that Jesus wanted Barabbas to get saved, and to come to know. And for that short amount of time, maybe that he had longer to live rather than him go and get crucified, I believe 100% that Jesus wanted, and I hope that happened. I don't know. We don't get any of the rest of the story. I think there are some tradition, and legacy type things that are passed down that he became a Christian later on, and I hope that's true. But and even the people that chose Barabbas, Jesus wanted, God is not willing that any should perish, but that all would come to repentance.
Yeah, it's one of the last things he says, Father, forgive them, thinking of what all he just went through.
Absolutely. And that's how, you can say, you can stand up and say, that's not right, this isn't right, but God, and not in a condescending way, right?
Yeah.
And not in a way to own somebody, but, and maybe even more privately than anything. And I'm going to pray for this person. I'm going to pray that God changes them.
Yeah.
But anyhow, I'm not even sure how we super got on where we just got on, but I think it was good. I'm excited about this truly, truly series because, to be honest, I would not have opened the book of John and said, I'm going to compare these two verses, and these two instances of Nicodemus in the crowd. But the way that it worked out is it really is a good comparison of what are you seeking. Mm-hmm. Nicodemus didn't have all the answers. He was skeptical. He had a lot that he was going to have to put down. And the crowd, honestly didn't have the same stakes. But instead, when they didn't get bread, they turned around, and they let go of the idea that Jesus was somebody special. And so that's a challenge for us is which one do we want to be? Do we want to be somebody that our faith costs us something? Or do we want to be someone that turns away when things get hard? Yeah. Or when things get easy? Mm-hmm. I've seen that happen many times too, where someone comes to church, they want something from God, God gives it to them, and you don't see them again. Sadly, that happens a lot. Yeah. And, man, that the blessing is not better than the Savior. Yeah. And all those things, even big important things like wives, having a wife or having a family or having a good job, these things that we need, they're not better than Jesus. Yeah. And so anyhow, you have anything else to add?
I think I'm good.
Yeah, awesome. I've enjoyed doing these with you, and we hope you have enjoyed listening. And hey, maybe something stood out to you this last week. We'd love to hear about it. That's the goal of these, is to continue the conversation and not to leave these big things that God speaks to our hearts about in the past, but to add them and to just one more touchstone of like, hey, we're going to go back and think about it. And that's why you have the text messages that come to you that just have the little truly, truly, or that's why you have the devotion that comes to you just to help us remember and to drive these truths deep down into our hearts. So we love you, church, and we can't wait and pray that we're able to be in person this Sunday. Because I'm going to be here either way, I think. I got a Jeep and we'll make it happen. So, but hey, we can't wait to see you next Sunday.